Marco Rubio is seemingly fundraising off those criticizing a recent campaign ad he did. Take a look at the ad first.
This election is about the essence of America, about all of us who feel out of place in our own country, a government incredibly out of touch, and millions with traditional values branded bigots and haters. This is about wages growing slower than the cost of living, a generation drowning in debt, and a president humiliated by Putin, Iran, and Islamic jihadists. I'm Marco Rubio. I approve this message because this is about the greatest country in the world and acting like it.
People who feel out of place in their own country.
So, Joe, you tweeted, I could tell that struck a chord with you. You tweeted pretty critical. Marco goes full-on nativist, says he feels out of place in his own country. It's such a crass play. It's offensive. Plus, you also said to Marco, and movie stars promising to move to Canada if a Republican is elected. If that's how you feel about America, just leave now. This morning, Joe.
Yeah.
Here's a recent Rubio fundraising email.
Oh, good.
And I just think you might recognize someone's name in it.
I didn't get
His
one.
campaign claims his message is catching on, and that Democrats, the media, and the political establishment on both sides know it, and they're absolutely terrified.
You can actually see it in the poll we showed this morning.
And here's this part.
He's down 5 percentage points.
Here's this part. Elitist members of the media, like MSNBC's Joe Scarborough,
Roll Tide,
are claiming Marco's remarks are nativist, saying he's trying to pander.
So, you know, it's...
I don't think you were just saying it. I think you were
here's what's so funny. We said earlier this week that they were the most thin-skinned group of people I've ever seen in politics, which is just dead.
The Rubio campaign, you're saying.
The Rubio campaign. And so here I am. I'm at home watching Ninjago with my 7-year-old boy. And somebody sends me this and sends me a link to a pollster saying the top thing that somebody who's trying to appeal to nativist voters says is, I don't feel like I belong even in my own country. Now, here's a guy that flies around in private jets every day, and he has for years. Here's a guy that sits in luxury suites at Miami Dolphins football games and other football games around America. Here's a guy that got paid $800,000 by a massive, powerful Manhattan publishing company. Book, $800,000, more than most of the people he's shaking hands with make in 10 years. He makes it for writing a book. And he's got the guts to go on and lift a line out of this nativist playbook. I don't belong in my own, I feel like I don't belong in my own country. And because he wants to appeal to Donald Trump's crowd. This is a guy that does belong in this country, because this is a guy whose father came over here. Not the way Marco told us he came over here, but his father came over here. His family embodies the American dream, and he's doing this nativist BS to try to appeal. It is such a crass and ham-fisted play. Again, this is what a student government president does when he wants to get elected with a nativist vote.
I was going to say, I think it's even more ham-handed that he's saying the establishment is finally waking up to my candidacy. He is the establishment candidate. They love him.
Yeah.
That's his crowd now.
They're waiting for him.
So do you know what this is actually all about, Willie? And we've heard this time and again. What this is about is that the elites, the people that fund his campaign and every other campaign, watch this show. I remember in 2008, somebody came up to me that worked for Barack Obama and said, nothing makes Barack Obama, then Senator Obama, angrier than when somebody goes up to him and says, you guys really need to start saying what they're saying on Morning Joe. Just drove him crazy. And that's what's happening with Marco. All we're doing is reading Washington Post articles. All we're doing is reporting on the news. All we're doing is what Mark,
or calling it out.
What Mark Halperin and I have been saying from the very beginning, well over a year, is what state does he win? What's his natural base? That's all we've been saying.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, we still a year later don't, but now everybody else is starting to say it.
But the clue there is that South Carolina is what they're looking at, right? The clue, if he's going for the Trump rhetoric, he's strongest in South Carolina.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of descriptions applied to your name. I've never heard you called an elitist, though.
No.
That's
University of Alabama, Roll Tide, Redneck Riviera. By the way, also a 95% lifetime conservative rating. It seems to me he could probably attack ISIS first. Maybe he could attack Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, the Iran deal. He's trying to fundraise over a Republican with a 95% lifetime conservative rating. Lots of luck there, fella.
So
it's not going to work.
Is Marco Rubio the cloakroom candidate? Is he the Senate cloakroom candidate?
I think he is now.
Yeah.
With Graham
So
out,
he's the
with Bush
establishment
faltering, I
candidate.
think he's that guy. He's the person who gets that.
What he's saying now, the nativist message, is no different than what Donald Trump's saying. The difference is Donald Trump, you get the sense, means it. And that Marco Rubio is borrowing it now because he sees it's working for Donald Trump.
Well, and what I thought was
Very
so
badly.
humorous about the timing of it was, again, it was so ham-handed. It was so calculated. It was so from a political machine that said, okay, look, this is what the pollsters say is the #1 way that you appeal to nativists in America. You say, I don't feel like I belong in my own country.
I'm with you.
And by the way,
he read that line.
He had two
and
huge
that's not his
fundraisers
story.
with Paul Singer, who is also funding the pro-immigration reform wing of the GOP. This is one of his biggest guys, and he's out there with this rhetoric at the same time.
All right, coming up.